Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, SeKo Starcraft here, bringing you a pro match, Intel Extreme Master Series Cologne, Group Stages, Mana, and Jaedong. Best of 3 series here. Really wanted to cast some Jaedong games. He played phenomenal in this tournament there. Very, very exciting games. And up against Protoss. One of the matchups I'm starting to enjoy very, very much over the last little bit here. Now Jaedong, what's really interesting for me when I watch somebody like him play is that the guy knows how to really mix up macro as well as being able to do cheese and aggression, and I think that's a very rare characteristic. When you watch somebody like Tasia, for instance, he got so well known for just being a phenomenal macro player that everybody would just expect that from him, that you would just are more than likely just going to run into a very straightforward macro game and nothing really crazy coming out of him right away. Whereas Jaedong, every now and then he's just going to 6-pool you. Every now and then he might just Baneling bust you or do some sort of Nidus work. Like, the guy's got so many strategies up his sleeve. It is just great to watch. And Mana, obviously not being a Korean, I do enjoy seeing that there are what we can call foreign people playing at a really, really high level. I wish him all of the best, even if he's going up against my boy, EG Jaedong. Now, let's see what Jaedong wants to do. Looks like he's not worried about getting cannoned in the face, which is actually kind of surprising to me. Somebody like Mana is also very capable of doing something funky, such as a Nexus first. Oh man. Two really, really... Well, this is pretty standard. But considering you're going game 1 up against a Protoss player that has cheese in their bag of tricks, and going for a very delayed pool. His pool isn't even started. He's on 17 right now. It's going to be a 17 pool after that. Two extremely greedy openings here. I like it. Hence, these guys are so greedy that if either of them gone for anything even remotely aggressive, they probably would have just straight out won. So we'll see who's got the better follow-up to a heavy macro opening. Mana will come in here and see things are pretty basic. He might know that the pool's slightly delayed. Not too many people really know to pay attention to that, though. Jaedong should know that that Nexus means that that was a Nexus first by the timings. Most pro players haven't figured out in their mind what timings exist. Because actually we'll get down a third hatch pretty fast as well. Once again, if a Forge was down over here, he might actually get in quite a bit of damage. But I don't expect players to do that. I do expect Jaedong, having seen that time of that Nexus, go for the fast third hatchery here. See if Mana maybe throws down a pylon was on this side of the map. Jaedong's pretty diligent in his scouting for any type of proxies. Cybercore at the front, so none of these players are making much for attacking units pretty fast. Zealot and Zerglings are on their way, but that's going to be at the 4.5 minute mark before the first attacking unit even enters the field. Which is cool. I like those openings. Queen's rocking and rolling. Jaedong's also really well known for his creep spread. Though I do find it exciting to watch Zerg players that don't do any creep spread. Very interesting to me, as something that, at least to attach your bases, seems just such an important thing to do. Another ship core coming out. And this should keep him pretty safe against any type of funky scouts. Now there's no tech yet out of our Protoss player. Putting a pylon back here and tech back here is generally a good place to be able to hide it. There is a probe that has not been spotted here at all. We'll see if we can get away with that. There's the Stargate down all the way. Worker-wise, about even. I mean, the worker is a little bit lower than you might see at this stage of the game, but that's the impact you get when you really kind of push for major buildings before units. But now that the queens are finished, we should see a pretty big explosion, a worker explosion, out of our Zerg player. Some chrono boost has been saved up here, and he might be doing that just so he can boost out either some phoenixes or some oracles. We do have the overload coming in. Now, let's see if Jaedong does see the Stargate. It's right there. There it is. Now he sees it. And we go back to his view. We should be seeing him throw down He does see that, he should see that his Phoenix is coming out. Because it's Phoenixes, you don't have to panic about throwing down Spore Crawlers. If there's an Oracle, you might want to. But with Phoenixes, you at least need 2 before you can kill anything. Well, you can kill Overlords, but you can't kill the drones. And Jaedong must know this because he's very diligent in protecting his worker line, but knowing that it's a while before those things pop out, he's taking it pretty calm. Finally starting to get the other gases in place here. Roach Warren, I think, just finished up. Did I just see that? Yes, it did. And the Evo Chamber on the way. Units-wise, pretty good lead in overall supply right now for workers for the Zerg player. We'll see if the Protoss player is interested in going for some 2-base play, some 2-base aggression, or just simply moving out to a third when he feels like he's comfortably controlling enough of the map. This is so interesting that Jaedong is not throwing out any... Well, there's the first of his anti-air. There it goes. There's a bit more. Let's say that's just interesting now he knows his timings well enough not to just throw away a drone and any mining time until it's absolutely necessary. Might be able to grab a couple of workers here. I think he managed to get 2 in that piece. So we'll grab an Overlord or 2. That's why it's nice to have the Overlord speed in position. Handful of roaches moving across. I don't know if those were scouted. I don't think they're going to get too much damage in. Sometimes you can just get a couple kills here or there. Just throw your opponent off a bit. Let's get a cancel on both of those buildings and the probe. Very interesting. Handful of Zerglings going out. The reason I see it's kind of interesting is that the roaches cost a bit more and they can just get picked up. The Zerglings could accomplish the same thing and had less investment to them. Big pile of Zerglings starting to move across now. Looked like he might have been trying to buy himself a little bit of time with some pressure to throw down a 4th base. This probe is still hiding over here. Spire on the way. Interesting. At the same time as it looks like our Protoss player wants to start moving towards Colossus. As a Zerg player, when you see that 3rd Nexus go down, you kind of feel a little bit more safe in your time to be able to get out, you know, your economy at that high level. Looks like Jaedong might be scouting in the corners right now. He's not going to see this, unfortunately. It's a pretty sneaky little spot. It's actually going to get one of the Phoenixes, and the other one's pretty beat up here. These units are in a pretty good spot to be able to stay safe. Not a lot of damage in that, but there's not a lot of damage with the Zerg player either. Let's take a look at the upgrades. +1, we'll be finishing up here pretty quick for the Zerg player. +1 attack is already finished. +1 armor, not that far away. Did a Twilight get finished yet? I don't think so. We should be seeing one here pretty soon so we can keep moving into the tier 2 upgrades. All the gases have been taken by the Zerg, and it looks like he's interested in taking these gases really fast as well. Wanted to know if he was going to go into some sort of swarmhost play. From the looks of it right now, getting the attack upgrade for his air units, is that it likely is going to be some sort of maybe just Roach, Hydra, and a little bit more of them, their fly units. You know, those whole things. One Colossus is finished. Thermal Lance is still a ways away. Blink is on the way as well. So the Protoss player is just kind of rounding out his tech. These are the interesting style games where it's actually getting into the mid game and these guys really don't have a ton of supply. But they have almost all the tech angles they need. There we go. That's what I was thinking of. Corruptors. Like, it's not called a Corruptor, is it? And I just totally blanked on what it actually was. 2 good little trains of creep moving. 1 queen moving around as well. Spreading creep a little bit more. This pylon still hasn't been found by anything. 1 Spore Crawler in position here as well. Good chunk of Hydras. Only +1 is finished. +2 is on the way, but that's a little ways away from being done. Will kill down these rocks. Get himself a bit of space. 2 Colossus in place. A 3rd one pretty close, as well as the Thermal Lance. So these Hydras could be in a spot of bother. Corruptor is kind of on snipe patrol right now. 21 roaches. Think Jaedong found the timing that he wanted. Should see these zealots come in and be able to deal with them. Does have a group of army over here. Yep. Pretty good reaction times. Gonna try to pick off a couple of drones here. Hold position on the zealots, trying to take out the gas drones. Zealots are 1-1, so they do pretty good against the zerglings that actually have no upgrades whatsoever. And he is actually getting the enduring locusts. This is a pretty funky spot here for Jaedong. He is focusing down the colossus. They're going to go down pretty fast. Supplies dropping pretty fast for Mana. Maybe this was just the right time to bust through this here. I actually thought this was not going to be the right position. This might not kill Mana, but he did take out a lot of the expensive tech units that were here. Hydra's modules will stay and fight. They're not going to be able to outrun the Blink Stalkers. And behind this, 13 swarmhosts. This is a really interesting plan. Like, he managed to kill off 3 colossus. So his opponent will be on essentially 2 by the time these are all ready to go and start doing damage. Creep has already moved a long ways. So I'm going to actually be able to get a fair bit accomplished with this specific attack. One thing that I'm a bit of a pet peeve of mine for people who do go for swarm hosts is that you need the static defenses. You need to start getting up spines on all of your different runaround angles, because that's how players always deal with you going swarm host, is that they are going to try and actually just push you out of position with different attacks and different avenues. Hence we see these zealots coming through, and there's one spine here that will get ripped apart by all these zealots. 2-1 zealots will carve through this really quickly. And these swarm hosts, yes, the locusts are going to crush face, but they're a long ways off actually being in position to do the damage. And Mana, very smartly, is starting to pick off creep, knowing that all the locusts are on the other side of the map. There's a bit more spines going down. Makes me happy. Big pile of roaches about to bust. Getting the pneumatized carapace, just getting a little bit of speed on the overlords. There's still one active creep tumor over here, which is fairly lucky for Jaedong. Need to control that creep against the swarm hosts. You need to be able to take every opportunity you can to get ahead. And these little zealot run-bys, they're not too expensive, right? A few $100, and it's actually going to do a lot of damage. Push the zerg player right out of position, and look at all the money that Jaedong has. He could just spine and spore up really well. Particularly as these happen. Warp Prism drops. A couple of spines and a couple of spores in the base, but when you have 9 zealots warping in, you can do pretty good. So Mana's dealing with this attack very, very well, I would have to say. Queen's going to go down. And these locusts haven't actually attacked anything yet. They haven't made it far enough across the map to essentially get any damage in. So I love the aggressiveness out of Mana here, where he gets out double Colossus production, plus 3 attack, as well as he's moved into Void Rays. Ready for that late game, right? His 4th base is up now, and he should be able to move along pretty quick. Jaedong's almost maxed out, but he hasn't been able to leave like his little nook on his side of the base. 2,800 minerals. Get the static defenses up everywhere. Get your bases completely unbreakable. Move your creep and start pushing forward and putting on some harassment. I think that, and I've seen a couple games with Jaedong playing his Swarmo style, and I think that he does play too defensive at times. Plus 3 attack is on the way for the Zerg player, but he's got no armor. Leg speed and air weapons also on the way. There's a big pile of spine crawlers happening, as well as the Greater Spire and Burrow. So still rounding out his tech, getting on his 5th base. This pylon has actually gotten in a lot of work. Lots more spines going in over here, and it just delays so well, right? You could have 15 zealots come through here. Yeah, they might eventually kill the spine crawlers, but they'll delay you long enough to get your army back into position. Needs to be a bit more aggressive with this creep. I think he's got plenty of drones. He's hitting his injects really well. Maybe make a couple more hatcheries and move all of your queens to the front and get that creep really marching ahead. Aggressive base taken here. Might as well, if you can control this side of the map, might as well put your pressure on. Get your dance on, fool. lots and lots of broodlords. 3 zealots here will actually get the cancel or the kill on this hatchery if it's not watched. There's the cancel, and the charge does get it taken care of. Now this is a pretty good map for this combo of swarmhosts and broodlords, just because of these gullies essentially. All of these gullies make it really difficult to move around in here really well, and if you blink down, you can end up just getting munched. It's a nice little warp in over that side. I do not mind this. And he's actually going to focus down the Greater Spire, which is very smart. That thing, not that strong of a building. It'll go down really fast to these +3 zealots. Actually, he's going to try to focus down the other one as well. Might get it. That was really close. He just... Oh no. This is even... he's definitely going to get it. 2 more spires are going to go down. And that's kind of what the Protoss player can throw away. He can afford to throw away some zealots. The minerals that it takes on that. Just to be able to buy himself the ideal composition. Again, the Tempest's out. +2 air weapons on the way. Double warp prisms. This is a big killer death army for the Zerg player. But the Protoss army is not that far off his. All he would really need to do is get out his mothership core. His full mothership. Which is quite expensive. He doesn't have the supply. Otherwise, I think he probably would have gotten that. Having the invisible units can help out a lot when it comes to dealing with this kind of swarm host style play. Locust is actually starting to get a little bit of damage for the first time. Jaedong very patiently rolling forward. More hatcheries going down at the same time. Lots of spores happening. You want those spores just in the back here so you can start yoinking the air units. That's why I love watching like somebody like Stefano play, who's just perfected this style. Even Snoot, so amazingly. Getting that huge creep volume and tons of spore crawlers behind that so you can start yoinking all of the really expensive air units. And obviously having the queens in the front as well helps you really, really well with dealing with transfuses and moving more of that creep. Pretty good force fields here. Actually going to hold a lot of these locusts back. Jaedong does pick up most of his swarmhosts, but he's got very little here to deal with these void rays. Just some spore crawlers, which are actually putting in their work, right? That's the point of them. So they are actually going to pick off a few units. Somewhat sloppy there out of Mana. Now there's not many stalkers in this army at all, I think, right now. But the Tempests, I believe that's enough Tempests to one-shot the broodlords. It's the beauty of the Tempest and their extra damage to massive. And here we have Mana, who's got another base already up, killed the other base of that, and is warping it already on the other side. Just great polished play from Mana. Looks like somebody who's played a lot of ladder against somebody who's played against a lot of people who like this style. Unfortunately, the corruptor amount here is just going to be too much for him, and all this money put into his air army is just going to get wiped out. We do have the Archons coming in, which should help out a bit, but I don't think they're going to be able to get anywhere near these air units with all of the broodlings on the ground. So even though I think Mana played that game really well, I think he's kind of on the ropes now. I mean, he did those really nice drops, did some great runarounds here, but just didn't quite have the composition, the ultimate endgame composition to deal with this. And I think Jaedong, though he played maybe a little bit too patiently in my mind, is just in a almost an unbeatable position here now. Just mining gas essentially on that side. This base, he's gonna try to rebuild. Got to keep rolling on that. He's pretty starved for gas right now. This is essentially the only base mining. This one's almost spent. Creep has not been as big on the side. He's just finally moving it around now, knowing that this is going to be the angle that he attacks on. Got to be very careful about your swarm hosts. They are extremely clumsy and retarded, and will run ahead and kill themselves if you're trying to rally them with everything else. These roaches should be able to clean this up. Only 4 cannons there. Nothing else really in place. Army is on the completely wrong side of the map to deal with that. I think that's what they were going to do. Maybe not. Looks like he's going to give enough time for Mana to come back and potentially defend it. I like the DTs actually. That's pretty clever. No detection on this side. Cannons are not powered. I don't know if there's an observer in this army though, so it's just a matter of time. I'm assuming he should pop up and just get what damage he can done. Or just roll. Yeah, well this base is going to die at least, though there isn't any detection on the side. I don't know if Jaedong notices that there's DTs wailing away on some of his units. Creep is moving over on this side very well though. Should be able to get the kill on this hatch. He's trying to go for, I'm not going to say a base trade, but he's trying to put on all this pressure just to make sure that Jaedong is uncomfortable, and he's going to buy himself enough time to get back into this game. Corruptor string a little bit ahead here. Will get sniped. Smart plays there out of Mana, just taking the little wins when he can. He's actually got a supply lead as well. He might not have the best army, but he's going to be able to make do with what he's got. Another Nexus started. This one's finished up. Not much to mine here. But he should be moving some workers pretty soon. Way oversaturated on this one base. Creep's still moving along. And this is why I think that, you know, Jaedong's obviously a great player, but I don't know if this swarmhost style is something that he's spent as much time with. Because he's got still this huge bank. And this is where you see a lot of people with a lot of experience start trading out workers for just infinite static defenses. These guys might just get finished in time to deal with this run by here. We'll see. Yeah, it looks like he'll clean it up. The DTs obviously are great, but there is spore crawlers in here as well. Whoa, broodlords caught really out of position here right now. The void rays should be able to clean up a lot of this. Not the best focus firing out of Mana though. Jaedong is maxed out again on Mass Mutalisk. Very, very interesting. Does finally have detection with his roaches to deal with his DTs, which have been really good this game at buying Mana just a little bit of time. This hatch should be saved by these zealots. They still have charge and the attack upgrades. They should be able to take care of them. Kind of close. Like just barely. Now where's that big mutaflock? There it is. So really what they need at this point are Archons. Void Rays are obviously really good. Storm's happening. He's trying to do his best splits. I kind of like the late game Muta swap. It is pretty cool. He does have tons of upgrades for them, obviously. But once again, if you have enough Archons kind of in that mix, you can sometimes deal with the Mutas. You just need that really heavy splash damage. Phoenixes are being made, but it doesn't matter how many Phoenixes you have. He's going to be up to like 40 Mutas here in a second. What's he at right now? He's at 39 with 6 more happening, so about 40. This base is finished, kind of hanging on by a thread. This base isn't mining much, and Mana's down by less than half supply. Phoenixes do have +2, but like I said, all the micro in the world, I don't think it's going to be enough. What he really needs is the splash damage. Good game call by Mana. Pretty interesting play. Great game 1. It is the best of 3 series. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll talk with you later.